Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Real Life Process podcast. It is so great to be back with you. My name is Teresa McCloy, and if you are new to the podcast, we are thrilled to have you listening in. We serve coaches, we serve speakers and trainers and organizational leaders into leaning in to helping to grow their teams, helping to work with their clients, and speak and train and lead retreats and workshops and all the things, helping people to know their real self well, manage their everyday, ordinary, real life, and really lean into the real work calling that they have. And we do that with individuals, but we also certify people to do that as coaches, organizational leaders, speakers, and trainers. And so welcome to the podcast. I can't wait to dive into the conversation we are going to have today. As I said, if you're new, make sure you go out and check out our website at thereallifeprocess.com. We spell real life with one L. And a couple of things we'd encourage you to do. Download some of our free offers that we have there with content in them. You can also watch a video there called Rested Success, where you can hear a little bit more about the book that launched last fall, Do What Matters, Live from Rest, Not Rush. So there's a couple things you can do there, but also subscribe to the podcast right here. Let it come into your podcast app each and every week and journey along with me as we do this work of creating and living out our real life. Different than anyone else's, you get to create your real life. Today on the podcast, I want to talk about creating your personal mission statement. How do you design and live out your personal mission statement? I've done some podcasts about this before, but today I really want to encourage you to lean into this. We just finished up one of our in-person gatherings that we do a couple of times a year with our certified facilitators, people that are using the content in those areas of coaching, organizational leaders, and speakers and trainers. And as those people come together a couple of times a year, this theme, this past gathering was, you were made for more. And I really am challenging and encouraging our community that they were made for more. How can they lean in more to what God has for them to do in the work that they're doing? And so as we lean into that, one of the things that I walked them through again, we've done it often, is their personal real life mission statement. How are they leaning into that one statement? Now, I want to say this. I believe we all have a need for a personal real life statement, but I believe that we're always tweaking it and changing it just a little bit. And it's ours personally, but just like this real life view document, this map that we help our clients that we're working with, the organizations we're working with, just like we help them create kind of this map, we encourage them to go back about every 90 days and look at that map. And a lot of times the thing from the internal being side doesn't change. It's the external doing that changes. But tweaking, leaning in, peeling more layers of the onion is all part of the process. So I just want to walk you through. This is actually one of the little sections in our guidebook. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm showing you our guidebook. And this is one of the little sections that if you download resources from our book, if you've gotten the book, if you've got it on Kindle, Amazon, wherever you pick up the book, you have a link to our resources. And we'll actually put that in the show notes for this episode. And when you download that, you'll see this little, we call it section 3 in the real life view. Because first, we've done things like discovered our needs and values. That's actually something that we work with first with people that are walking through the real life process and all 4 components. So discovering needs and values is that first step. Then we talk in that second section about your talents and your gifts. Who are you? What are the things that are uniquely you? And then as we come into this third section, many times when I'm working with someone, we kind of skip this for a little bit. And we go on down to the fourth section about what are the big rocks, what are the areas of focus in your life. And then we come back to this personal real life statement. What right now do you want to say is your guiding words over your life? And we do this in about 3 to 4 steps. The first one is thinking, what do I want my life to be about? Getting up on that balcony, that's step 1. What do I want my life to be about? I want it to be about what? There is no right or wrong answer. I want it to be about, something as broad as, saving the children. I'm just thinking of things that come to mind. I want it to be as broad as my life is about loving my family well. My life is about creating extraordinary moments. My life is about living out my most extraordinary days. What is the bigger vision, the balcony vision? Now this is the messy part, and it's okay to be messy. So find a piece of paper, find a big whiteboard, whatever it is, to just get messy with that. So just write something like that down. And then the second part is how are you going to do it? By being how. And this is where you actually are going to go back up to the characteristics. What makes you, you? What makes you uniquely you? So it could be things like your talents, your abilities, referring back to that list of things that you use to describe yourself. I'm kind by being bold. Some of the words that I have for me are bold and generous, a leader, a creator. How would you describe yourself? That's the being part. That's the internal you. And then the next part for your personal real life statement, personal mission statement is, then how are you going to put it into action? So we went from the description words of ourself into the actionable words that we're going to use. So how will you live it out? And this is the part, to be honest, that might change throughout your life. So you might revisit your personal mission statement either every 90 days by tweaking a few words here or there, or by rewriting it differently, every 1, 2, or 3 years, because you're doing it differently. You're in a different season. So for me, I have words like, how am I going to live it out? By encouraging, by equipping. Right now, one of my passions is to equip others to use the real life process in the work they're doing. And that's why we have a certification program. I want this process to be used across the world. So excited right now. We have some of our facilitators taking the content of the real life process overseas. They're actually translating it into another language, into Russian, and I am so excited about that. What an honor and a privilege to see this work being used by, now we have over 40 facilitators across the country. That's equipping and helping others discover. So that's the doing part. So first, it's the big vision. How do you want, I want my life to be about what? By being this, by doing that. Now we're going to combine all of that together to come up with a sentence, if possible. In the beginning, it's going to be a little bit messy. It might be 2 or 3 sentences. So I'm going to share mine with you. I've done this before on the podcast, but it's important for me to give you an example. And then I want to talk about how I've seen some others kind of work through this and get to this process. So here is my life purpose statement, my real life statement. Embracing each extraordinary day as an offering to God. That's what I want to be my life to be about. I want to embrace every day that this is a day that God has given me. So embracing each extraordinary day as an offering to God by being a bold and generous leader and creator. So by being a bold, generous leader and creator. That's the being. Encouraging and equipping others to discover their true, real self, govern their everyday real life, and live out their calling to their real work. And that's a part of my brand. That's a part of the work we do. So embracing each extraordinary day as an offering to God by being a bold, generous leader and creator, encouraging and equipping others to discover their true, real self, govern their everyday real life, and live out their calling in their real work. So you see all three pieces. You see what I want my life to be about by being this, by doing this. And I've combined all of those together into my real life statement. Now, I've gone back at different times and I've changed the word, like govern their everyday life. That's a new word in my statement. And I look up those words and I find the definitions. And I really dive into this sometimes when I do my 90-day reset, which is something I do every 90 days. I don't reset everything in my life map in this part of the real life view, but I reset and look at words and really dive in and peel the layers. So many times when I start with a client, their real life statement will be all about their doing. And yours might feel that way too, but that's okay. Just sit with it and let it be and let God do the work in you. And the next time you come to it, see how much more of that being internal place of rest that you can put in to your real life statement. What's missing? Do you need to look more at needs and values? Do you need to look more at the characteristics that God has uniquely placed in you? And really discern and sit with those and maybe ask some friends, what do you see in me? What do you see inside of me that I bring out? Kindness, encouragement, equipping, listening. What are things that are uniquely yours? Sometimes we can ask a close circle about those things and help them draw out of us those words. Maybe you need to work with a coach or a spiritual director or a mentor to find out more. But I just want to encourage you to sit with this work. I'm not going to tell you it's easy, but it can form in you and it becomes the guiding statement. I know that every day I want to lean into equipping and encouraging. And if my day involves those things, it's been a good day. It's been an extraordinary day. It's been an offering that I can give to God. So yes, this is a made for more work, but it's work worth doing. I promise you it is. And I want to show up, as you know, on this podcast, being present with you, being real with you, bringing joy with you, and creating impact. And I know that a real life statement does all of those things as it concises down for you how you're being, how you're doing in your everyday life. So go out, download some of the things from the website, get this resource that we'll put inside of our show notes. So if you need to look at this and see it, you can see it in those documents that you can download. But I encourage you, and here's the thing, I'd love to hear from you about how your real life statement is coming together. You can do that over on our Facebook group, in our Facebook community. You can check me out on LinkedIn. You can private message me in those places. You can find my email out on the website, but I'd love to hear from you. And if you would love to do this work with others, Make sure you find out more about our facilitator program and how you too can use this content in the work that you're doing. I can guarantee you that it will help change lives and impact those that you're wanting to impact. So remember that every ordinary day has an extraordinary moment. You just have to look for them. And we'll be back next week. I'll be back to share with you more or have a guest on to have a great conversation with here at the Real Life Process Podcast. Have a great week, everyone. We'll talk soon.